Drag racing fan, Monday morning racer, yours truly, Lee Craft, live once again with Between the Slicks. And on this episode, we've got the winner in Top Fuel and the winner in Nitro Funny Car from the March meet. First up will be Pete Kaiser, the winner in the long cars with the skinny tires out there at March meet. The winner in Top Fuel. We're going to have him first. Later on, we'll have Jon Capps on and talk with him on his win there at the March meet. We're going to take a quick break and roll Pete in and talk to him. He's been gracious enough to give us time on his lunch break to come on the show and talk about the big win at the 67th Good Vibrations Motorsports March meet in Top Fuel. The coverage of Monday Morning Racer on Top Fuel was brought to you by Ross Racing Engines and Hilton Hot Rods. This word from Ross Racing Engines, and we'll talk then with Pete Kaiser. Ross Racing Engines of Niles, Ohio, built this bad power plant for Tyler Hilton and Team Great Expectations 3, currently number one qualifier at the 2025 March meet. And whether it's Hemi power or power for your application on dirt track or asphalt short track racing and beyond, even into the hot rodding scene, Ross Racing Engines is your one-stop shop for everything for your power plant. No matter the application, they do nearly everything in-house. They are not outsourcing at Ross. So whether it's racing or rodding, you need Ross Racing Engines. And live with us, Pete Kaiser. Pete, thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for your time, taking lunch to be on Between the Slicks. What are you doing there in California?
I'm equipment mechanic for the Contra Costa County.
All right, equipment mechanic for the county. That's kind of a good gig. That sounds pretty good. You know, my
it's good.
Wife Megan, she works for the state of Tennessee in the Department of Child Services, and children can be a little bit more squirmy than equipment. So that sounds like a good gig.
For sure.
Well, man, let's dive into it. I know you got to get back to work. I hope you can get a bite to eat. Your hot rod, I want to talk about it first. Chassis builder, combination, marketing partners. Man, give me the spiel on the hot rod that you just won the March meet in.
It's a Bowen chassis built in 2020 for Dan Horan. Me and Dan were teamed up for about 5 years together. So we built a new car that he fit in. Bowen built it. It's an amazing car. It's a great car. No problems with it at all. It performs good. And then we got the 426 in it. It's starting to come around more and more and trying to refine that. And everything's good. Quite a few little marketing partners. Everybody contributes. Redline Oil, PacWest Trailers, McLeod Clutches, a local bottling company, C. Calderoni, even the Saints Car Club, Denver Shoots, RE3, Hoosier Tires, Sanders Engineering. Just a lot of people coming together to make this happen. Since I work at the county, I just work 8 to 5 every day and trying to make this thing happen. It's hard to do.
I hear you. Hey, it takes a village, and I'm glad you've got that village of support to go out and win an event such as the March meet. But from what I understand, give us the breakdown of your history. This is not your first March meet. From what I understand, you've done it as a driver and you've done it as a tuner.
Yeah, I won it in 95, driving for Dave Smith out of Sacramento Raceway. And then big long dry spell for a while, drove a lot of different cars, tuned quite a few cars. And then when me and Dan got together in 2020, we ended up winning the 2021 March meet and also the championship that year. And then we kind of focused on the funny car for a while with Dan. And then me and my wife ended up buying the dragster a year ago in November. So here we are. But yeah, I've been to just about all the March meets. So it's amazing to win 3 of them for sure.
Absolutely. Hey, give us the breakdown. You mentioning seemed like you've been to just about all of them. Why is the March meet so special? Why should drivers compete in that event? Why should fans flock to the March meet? Why is March meet where and what it is?
It's just huge. It's been around since the 50s with the Smokers Car Club starting it. And all the big names have won this race. Muldowney, Gartlitz, Force. And they've all been out here. This used to be the big race before Aintree really got their series going. And it still is a huge race. Since our first race of the year, it's our Daytona 500 for sure. The reunions are cool, but they're more of a gathering. The March Meet's a full-blown race. I mean, you come to the March Meet, it's a lot of different conditions. It's hard to race at the March Meet. As we saw this year, Thursday and Friday were cold. Saturday was okay, and Sunday was great, great racing weather. And it's just everyone shows up for the March Meet.
Yeah, and it's that first really crack back at racing. Kyle Huff mentioned that yesterday, that you kind of don't know what you're going to go into weather-wise, and you're working things out. You're kind of getting the bugs worked out, and it is putting the team back out there and re-gelling. So there's a lot going on at the March meeting. With all of that, bringing the team back out, hitting the track, what was the chatter amongst the Top Fuel ranks? Because, wow, Tyler Hilton and the Great Expectations crew, from testing all the way into the final round, it looked like it was theirs. And no one quite had the performance that they had in the weekend.
Man, that's for sure. That their car was just on point. It's been on point for a couple of years now, but they were just hitting every run. I went in the March meet totally backwards. I was trying stuff Thursday, Friday, and half of Saturday, trying a bunch of ideas I had over the winter. And finally Saturday afternoon, I said, you know what? Let's just go back to what we know for this last qualifier and for Sunday. The last qualifier against Hilton, it was a great run. We were incrementally ahead of Hilton at 60, 330, and 1,000 feet. Only a couple thousands ahead, but we're a couple thousand still ahead. And when the shift light came on, instead of shifting the car, I hit the mag retard. And then I stepped off the gas, and then I hit the shifter, and I got back on the gas. I'm like, man, if anything's rusty, it's me more than the car. So we went back to Sunday knowing what we know, and we were just a little bit off all day Sunday, too. And we have some new discs in the car. Not sure we're fighting that, but we definitely need to get our act together. We get super, super lucky in the final. I mean, I was almost thinking, there's no way we can pull this off. I know we can't run a mid 60 right now. Let's just see what we can do. And my lights were terrible all weekend. I was just doing a bad job, and luckily I got my act together for the final round.
You certainly did get your act together for the final round, but the act was there enough at least to go all the way through round one, round two, to the final round. Let's take a look at round one and get your thoughts on that first win light of the day at the 67th Good Vibrations Motorsports March meet.
Kaiser, 5.733, 237 miles an hour. Adam Sorokin stole that thing off that starting line with a 53 light. The Pete came trucking on down through there. 5.73.
Sorokin, he turned off that top light. You go ahead and turn on the win light, though. Going into round one against that group, that's always a challenge.
Man, when I saw that first round pairing, I said, man, the least guy I want to race is Adam Sorokin. He always leads on me. And Bobby and those guys, they run the car hard, and they'll do whatever it takes to win a round. I got lucky in that round. Actually, my pan crusher shut the car off about 1,200 feet, and I was just coasting, waiting for him to come by me. And luckily, he didn't. But I never take anybody lightly, but especially those guys. And I'm getting used to these people knocking these top lights out on me. It usually happens once or twice every weekend now. Somebody knocks the top light out.
Yeah, it's definitely in the day and time of drag racing we're in. It seems like everybody's doing something, no matter what the form of drag racing is. I know every now and then I'll get to cover the flings and hold a camera on the starting line, and I see drivers, even though I did junior dragsters and have been around bracket racing, they'll do this whole wheel turn and turn a light on and off. And I'm like, man, where'd that start? What are y'all doing? It's like everybody's got something they're doing, and you really have to race your own race. as everyone loves to say. And then someone does something and the drivers are like, no, why did he do that? So yeah, got to get out there and race your own race. Well, you race to a win there. You mentioned the pan pressure and shutting off, any issues during teardown beyond that, or was it rather routine going into round 2?
Totally routine. My guys we've been together as a team for a long time now, and the team is just on point every round. Give me a great car to tune, safe car. No, just general maintenance. Just like I say, we're trying to go quicker. We're trying new things, and sometimes you have to go backwards a little bit to go forward. And I think that's where we're at right now. And we hurt some pistons, we hurt one cylinder head, and that's just part of it, though.
Pete Kaiser 571, 254 miles an hour.
Living in the 570s for sure. Car running good, car running consistent. Brad Thompson in the game, they did have a bit of a thrash. They had a rear main issue and switched out motors, but got it up there and staged it and kept you honest for sure to pick up that round 2 win.
For sure. And he won on a hole shot first round. I'm like, man, this might be one of those Cinderella stories for Brad. Just hole shots his way through this thing, wins the whole deal. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. He got that whole shot win. And I really think if maybe they didn't have the mechanical issues, it might have fared better for them in round 2. But it obviously fared best for you. You pick up that round win. I know before the final, I swung by the pits and you were working on the supercharger, and you were kind enough to pull off that, come give an interview and chatted with you a bit. But you had some superstars hanging out with you with Maddie and Macy Gordon. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, they're super cool. We raced juniors against them. My son raced juniors, and got to know them really good. Ran them in a lot of finals. Just a great racing family. And Doug was out there on Friday helping me get my new computer up to speed and helping me out and just like hanging out. And the girls wanted to come. He said, "No, you girls got to stay and work." And so they got to come out on Sunday. But yeah, it's just a great racing family. And I even said, "Hey, would you mind packing the chute?" They jumped right in and said, "No problem. We'll pack the chutes."
They definitely know what they're doing. I mean, they can work on it all. It's fascinating to see that Gordon group. Everyone's getting their hands dirty on that funny car. And as has been announced, more than likely we're going to see Maddie in a top field dragster before long. I asked her, I was like, "Hey, what about these nostalgia cars, hopping in these?" And she was ready and willing to go. So someone's got to figure out getting Maddie or Macy in a top fueler in the nostalgia ranks. That'd be pretty cool.
That'd be really cool. I'd give up my seat in a minute. I'm not loving the driving part at all. I like being outside the car way more than driving the car. I just kind of do it. Me and my wife bought the car, and she said, "If we buy this thing, you're going to drive it." Though I said, "Okay, I'll drive it." But I really enjoy being outside the car way more than driving it.
Spectacular. Interesting. I think of, you say that, and I think of someone like Mike Neff. Mike could drive a funny car. He was not a bad funny car driver at all, but I'm sure he's had more opportunities to drive. But no, he has stuck tuning those things, and it certainly has paid off for those he has been tuning for. So it's interesting that you have folks that they're like, "Man, I just want to drive," and they know nothing about tuning, and then you have those that can drive, and as you have said, though, you would rather be outside of it. That's fascinating.
Yeah, 100%. As I'm staging, I'm still trying to tune that car, and I think that's why I'm such a bad lever. I'm looking at the pipes rather than looking at the lights. I'm just like already thinking what I should have done or what I'm gonna do, and I'm like, man, yellow lights are on. It's time to go. But yeah, I just like the tuning part of it. Get way more satisfaction out of tuning these things than driving them for sure.
All right, final round. Like we established, the Hilton gang, wow, they have had the ET and the mile per hour, the performance all weekend from their soft test lap to round 2. You're working on this thing and you're getting this thing ready. You're tuning in your mind like you're talking about. Where did you get yourself to be able to, well, if I remember correctly, come off with a 049 light, your best light of the day, to go win the March meet?
I just finally got my head clear. I got in the car a little bit earlier than usual too, so I could just sit there and just try and get my head clear. Don't worry about the car. Just go and try and get a good light and keep it in the groove. Shift at the right time and just drive it to the end. And that's all I pretty much did. And I was just ready to go. For some reason, I had my act together that one time when I needed it of all weekend. When I saw the time slip, I'm like, wow, finally when I need to cut a light, I can cut a light finally. Made me feel good.
We got Darren Williams Jr., aka American Hot Rod Entertainment, on the show. Got a star who's left us all now to go work at John Force Racing. So, hey Darren,
Nice.
How you doing, man? Yes, Kaiser is the man, especially of the 67th March meet. Well, Pete, we're going to take a look at the final round, and beyond March meet, let's figure out what's up. So, final round.
Kaiser, 5705, 254 miles an hour, picks up that trophy.
Boom, living in the 570s all day, but that 049 light, it certainly did not just edge, but out of the gate was far better than Tyler Hilton there in the final round. You get the win. And in the top end interview moment, you're like, man, what did it run? And I'm like, I don't know, but you won. That's what matters.
That's what the tuner came out again. The tuner and me, like, what a run, exactly. I didn't even know I won down there. I got out, and right when I got out, the guy was in the four-wheeler, said, hey, get back in the car. I want to push you up out of the way because the funny car's coming down. It's kind of congested down here. So, okay, so I jumped in, and we're halfway up that return road, and he said, you won, right? I said, are you kidding me? I said, are you sure that I won? Yes, you won. I'm like, woohoo. Couldn't believe it.
Right. The only one that I think knew they won was Kyle Huff. And then I had to huff and puff running after him when they decided to bring you all up to the photo op area, because I was stationed all the way down to that last turnoff. So my interview with Kyle, I'm all heavy breathing and trying to get it in. And by the time talking with you, I had composed myself and caught a breath. But Jon Capps, later talking with him, he didn't know. I mean, they rolled him up and he's still sitting in the car. He's like, why am I going to get out and take the trophy? And they're like, you don't know?
Yeah, exactly.
So again, those moments are so great, and certainly glad I was able to capture those moments and your moment, and to have you now. So thank you for the time, Pete. Again, congratulations on the win.
Thank you.
But the racing season is not over. So beyond March meet, where can we expect to see this Kaiser hot rod burning nitromethane and attempting to turn on win lights and steal trophies?
We'll be in Bowling Green in June, and we're going to run the whole series this year. Me and my wife made a decision over the winter, said, let's go to all the races again. Hopefully we keep all our partners with us and we can afford to do it all. And then we'll evaluate next year. But yeah, we're going to race all 5 races this year.
All right, spectacular. Well, we are certainly going to keep an eye on the championship battle as well. Speaking of a champion, the Nitro Chaos champion of 2024, Joey Haas, he mentions most beautiful car out there. Don't forget it. Yeah, you do got a solid looking hot rod. What is the color on that car? It is a pretty maroon burgundy.
Yeah, it's like a candy apple red with some black and silver in it. And I figure, if it doesn't run good, might as well make it look good, because you never know how it's going to run when you first build it.
Right. Well, man, it certainly is running good, and it looks good. And Pete, thank you for your time. We're going to let you get out of here and get another bite to eat, get back to work, and make sure all that equipment is working for the county right.
Thanks, Lee. And I'm going to definitely try that wheel flopping when I stage in Bowling Green and try and get those lights to blink on and off a little bit.
Dude, I don't know why I haven't seen it more often in other places, because if you look, it's gamemanship. It's a part of sportsmanship, and if another guy is not prepared to race his own race, well, that's on him, not on the guy in the other lane. So
exactly,
give it a shot.
Yep, for sure.
Pete, to you and the team, congratulations.
Thank you very much, Lee. Hopefully I see you in Bowling Green.
Adios.
Thank you.
Folks, that was Pete Kaiser, the winner in Top Fuel at the 67th Good Vibrations Motorsports March meet at Famoso Dragway. We're going to take a break, and after the break, we'll dive into some news as we wait for Jon Capps to join in on the show to talk about his funny car win at the March meet. The Top Fuel coverage on Monday Morning Racer was brought to you by Ross Racing Engines and also Hilton Hot Rods. This word concerning Hilton Hot Rods. Bobby Hilton knows how to win on the drag strip. Bobby Hilton knows how to win in hot rodding. Hilton Hot Rods out of the Commonwealth of Virginia builds some of the finest hot rods in the scene of hot rodding. And that's evident with multiple covers from Hot Rod Magazine and prestigious awards such as the Good Guys Hot Rod of the Year. If you want to ride to the hilt in your hot rod, it needs to be a Hilton Hot Rod. I tell you, it is wildly impressive, the hot rods that Bobby Hilton, Robert Hilton, does build. You start looking at the coverage in Hot Rod Magazine, you start looking at the awards with the Good Guys Hot Rod of the Year and his customers and how they rave and what they talk about. They are some beautiful hot rods that he is building out of the state of Virginia. So again, if you are looking for a hot rod and want it done right, and it have that stance and it have that look and it have a combination engine wise that certainly is throwback into hot rodding, you've got to look up. You've got to check out Hilton Hot Rods. Thank you to Ross Racing Engines and Hilton Hot Rods for supporting Monday Morning Racer and the coverage of the March meet, in particular in Top Fuel. Speaking of coverage, yes, on the Monday Morning Racer YouTube channel, you can see full elimination coverage of Top Fuel Eliminator. What you saw today with Pete, that is a trimmed down version of what you can catch on the Monday Morning Racer YouTube channel. We also have up on the YouTube channel AA Fuel Altered full elimination action. We talked yesterday to Kyle Huff. He was on the show, the winner of the March meet in AA Fuel Altered, and had a great conversation with him. Learned a lot about Kyle, the sheep herder, and breaking down the win. His win that was from wall to win had a strange incident in testing, got into the wall. They had to do some trimming on the sheep herder, some shearing, if you will, of the sheep. And then they put it back into action, qualified, and went on to win the March meet. Spoke with him yesterday. And then we also have Nitro Funny Car coverage from the March meet that you can enjoy on the Monday Morning Racer platform. And the second part of this show, we're waiting for Jon Capps to join us. We'll be chatting with him as he picked up a win in the Matthews Racing Hot Rod there at the March meet. And it's all being covered right here on the Monday Morning Racer platform. A couple episodes ago, we talked to David Sharp of Rocket City Dragway, the manager operator there, and he broke down what they expect in 2025 for Rocket City Dragway, from extreme Top Fuel nostalgia events to pro mods and beyond, even the biggest bouncy house in the world coming to Rocket City Dragway Event Center. They will be having all of that happening. Check that episode out. We dive into some IHRA talk because Rocket City Dragway is an IHRA track, and we give that for discussion as well. This weekend, there are several races happening this weekend, and the one that I will be at, I will be in Adel, Georgia. They're at South Georgia Motorsports Park for the Southeast Gassers Association season opener. This year, I'm working with the Southeast Gassers Association as their media director / coordinator, and looking forward to hitting the grounds there at South Georgia Motorsports Park and bringing the first race of the year in a 10-race season for the Southeast Gassers Association, which I do count as the premier gasser group out there in drag racing right now. I do not think there is any better show. There are good shows, do not misunderstand me, but I do not think there is any better show in gasserdom, if I may put it that way, than the Southeast Gassers Association, what they are putting on. Looking forward to that. Keep your senses on alert. Announcement to come concerning this weekend, South Georgia Motorsports Park and the Southeast Gassers Association. It is going to be a big, big time for sure. That season opener there at South Georgia Motorsports Park this weekend. Then they roll into Shady Side Dragway April 4th and 5th. And then a first-time visit to Holiday Raceway, the Bama Brawl, as it is being called, May 2nd and 3rd for the Southeast Gassers Association. But that is not all the action that is taking place this weekend. Drag racing certainly is at full song at this point in the season. Just about every body of racing, whether it's sanctioning body or whether it is a racing group or outfit, it seems like they've had their first event and they are fired up and going throughout their championship runs in 2025. And that is certainly the case for the NHRA Mission Foods Drag Racing Series. This weekend, they are at Firebird Motorsports Park. And with this event, you can catch sportsman action for sure. You can see Top Fuel, Nitro Funny Car, and the other professional classes. But I do want to make note of Pro Mod. Pro Mod is there. Here is the first sheet of the entry list. On into the second sheet, 20 cars entered for NHRA Pro Mod, and they will be, during qualifying, holding the elimination rounds for the Amalie Motor Oil NHRA Gator Nationals. So round one, here are your matchups in round one for the Congruity Pro Mod NHRA Racing Series. So the Gator Nationals will be contested in qualifying at the Arizona Nationals. That's not all that is happening. NHRA action will also be taking place. Lucas Oil Sportsman action on NHRA.tv. I imagine this will also be streamed to the YouTube channel from Maple Grove Raceway. NHRA Division 1 action will be taking place. And let's say that the Southeast Gassers isn't quite your thing. Let's say that NHRA drag racing isn't quite your thing. Drag racing is so wildly diverse and good. Well, the big one is taking place this weekend at Rockingham Dragway, March 21st, 22nd, dig or die. Flashlight, Fiesta 5, backside, no prep done right. This is the big one in the backside, no prep world, and it is a spectacular event. The biggest names in the no prep scene, they come out for this race. Rockingham Dragway, the team that is now there over it, what spectacular things they are doing, from adding new bathrooms and adding new showers and updating concessions and rejuvenating, revitalizing, remodeling the concrete stands that needed so much work. They are putting the work in there at Rockingham Dragway. So this weekend, there are just a few announcements concerning what is happening this weekend. And, oh, by the way, with Rockingham, not only just this weekend, far as dig or die, but if I read it right, I will bring this up. They roll into, March 23rd, 25th. They've got import face-off. So a lot is happening there in Rockingham Dragway. You've got a little bit of everything this weekend across the country. And again, that is a small sample size of what is happening in the world of drag racing. You can catch at South Georgia Motorsports Park, Southeast Gassers Association drag racing action. Out there at Firebird Motorsports Park, you can catch NHRA action, including Pro Mod. And then you've got up there at Maple Grove in NHRA Division 1, divisional action of the Lucas Oil Sportsman Series with classes such as Comp Eliminator. And then you have also the no prep and import scene invading the Rockingham Dragway there in Rockingham, North Carolina. So a lot is going on. A lot is going on for the world of drag racing. We'll take a few moments and go into the comments section and take your questions. And as we wait for Jon to come on, we've got him scheduled for 1 o'clock, but I told him that, hey, if you're able to come on any earlier, come on earlier. We will take you and we will get the breakdown of the win in Nitro Funny Car. So each and every one of you, thank you for watching, such as Dragster Jeff and Joey and Blake and Sam. Man, I'm glad to see you. Haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you. Glad that you're on. And, oh, yeah, that Darren Williams Jr. cat. Good to have him following along as well. Jacob, Raymond, everyone, thank you for watching. Folks, hit the like button. Hit the share button. If you haven't subscribed to Monday Morning Racer on YouTube, please do that. If you're on X and you're watching, the platform formerly known as Twitter, well, re-X or retweet if you would please. Thank you for your help. Raymond Kirk, is Flow Sports covering Funny Car and Nitro Chaos? No, they did not cover last year. The year before that was the last year. They actually got out of their contract early. And you may wonder, like, why did that happen? Well, they needed a bankroll covering such things as the Superstar Shootout. And with the Superstar Shootout and everything that they were dumping into that, they scuttled several other racing outfits such as the NMRA and also the Chaos brand World Fuel Altered Nationals. They were on Flow at one time, and they are not currently. And I believe there is no plans for Flow Sports to cover Funny Car Chaos and or Nitro Chaos. And honestly, they never really did cover Funny Car Chaos or Nitro Chaos. Those events were done by several individuals. I can think of, Randy Young. I can think of Warren Evans, notably, that streamed those events to Flow and beyond. They were not Flow productions. They were productions that Flow gave money to the promoter, in this case, Chris Graves. The promoter then found the individuals necessary to stream those races, such as a Warren Evans and a Randy Young, and then also providing for such people working cameras and even myself doing pit interviews there in the Chaos races. But no, as of right now, there are no plans that Flow Sports will cover any of the Funny Car Chaos and Nitro Chaos action. But I will say this. Make sure you're following Funny Car Chaos and Nitro Chaos. Announcements to come. And that is all I am going to say. Thanks for the question, Raymond. I appreciate it. Jacob, McLeod 917, import stuff could be fun if the the front-wheel drive Civics don't oil down 15 times in 10 pairs. Yes, the import stuff is fun. The crowd that I really enjoy, I haven't been able to encounter them really since, is at the World Door Slammer Nationals, the two races that Wes Buck Drag Illustrated held there at Orlando Speed World. They would have several import cars there, like the little rotary cars. Man, they're a lot of fun. They're popping and banging and smoking, and they're launching, and they're squirrely. They're like fuel alters of the import world or something. Love those cars. Love that type of racing. If you all have never seen it, like you can see some of the action on Monday Morning Racer. There is a video from the World Door Slam Nationals. It didn't do that well, but man, I loved it. Man, that is some good racing. And their fans, man, I wish everybody was like their fans. You know, with all due respect, some of you, as fans of drag racing, I really wonder if you are fans. Like, you never get excited about it. You just complain about it. There's some of you out there that do that, and you call yourself a fan. No, these fans, man, they've got, noisemakers and whistlers and we're waving towels and they're jumping up and down. Spectacular. Like, the energy from those fans from Puerto Rico and that segment of the drag racing world, I wish everybody was like that. So cool. Not like the crusty old white dude in the stands with his arms crossed, and you have someone do a great pass like, that was a good pass. What's next? Man, come on, get out of it. Can we not get excited again over drag racing? Like, I can remember round 1 of Nitro Funny Car at the March meet. I walked away, and the individual that was assisting me with camera work, Tristan Triac, by the way, go follow Triac Photography, did a great job. I'm like, man, that was a great round of Nitro Funny Car. And he was ecstatic because he said the same thing. And like Les Mayhew, he's like, man, that was a good round of Nitro Funny Car. Dave Commel, he's like, man, that was a good round of Nitro Funny Car. And it was a great round of Nitro Funny Car. Can we not get excited about drag racing again? Like, really evaluate where you are as a fan. If you're just constantly complaining all the time, find something to be excited about. Because I think right now in drag racing, there is a whole lot to be excited about, for sure. Jacob mentions here, I want to go to the World Cup there at Maryland International Raceway. Yes, it is one that I have not been able to get to myself. It is on the list. It is right up there, in my opinion, with like March Meet, U.S. Nationals, World Series of Drag Racing, World Cup. It's up there. Just what a interesting platform and combining of classes and cars and personalities that is happening there at Maryland International Raceway. And what a great facility as well, and a great location. That track holds great times and great speeds, and records tend to fall at that event. It is certainly one that needs to be on every drag racing fan's list, just like now the Funny Car Chaos Classic, including Nitro Chaos at the Texas Motorplex. It is the biggest funny car race in the world, and that's no drama. That's no, exaggeration. It is that, and plus some, and you're able to catch it. I also want to catch one of these, 2K events. Like, there's Florida 2K, there's Texas 2K that just happened this past weekend. I'm not the biggest roll racing fan, but it's still a form of drag racing. It is still within the mix. I also want to catch one of these events where you have half-mile drag racing. I don't know how you would film it. I don't know how really I don't know if it's a great experience really as a fan, but it is something that I want to see. And all racing in some respects seems to come from land speed racing. Going to the Salt is definitely on my list. I have got to get Bonneville in. Raymond, let's see, you chime in with awesome. Thank you. As a truck driver, I can't make it to all the races, but I love to watch. I do attend as many races as I can. I hope someone will pick it up and do a live feed. That may very well be the case, but remember, Funny Car Chaos, Nitro Chaos, there is one YouTube channel, Funny Car Chaos, and there are recaps of the event that you can watch. I know joining in live is a great experience, but if they are not live, you can catch recaps. Keep that in mind. The Not Bland Show, Mr. Dujanay Bland will be on the Competition Plus Power Hour later tonight. We'll have Greg Stelz on, and also Taylor Chamozik, as I believe is how you enunciate his last name. Greg Stelz is the driver of the Joker in the Southeast Gassers Association, and also owner of Greg's Speed Shop. They do some phenomenal work out of that speed shop and restoration shop, hot rod shop. There in Wapaka, Wisconsin, but he is certainly aiming for the A-Gas record in the Southeast Gassers Association and a trophy or two in Sega. And then Taylor is a sportsman racer. You can see him in Top Sportsman Competition Eliminator and beyond. We'll be chatting with him concerning the NHRA Lucas Oil Sportsman ranks on the Competition Plus Power Hour. That is tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So jump on the Competition Plus forums, as in being Facebook and YouTube and X, or you can even watch the show right here on the Monday Morning Racer Facebook page and join in on the discussion. But Mr. Bland also has a show that airs, I believe, at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. You can follow over to right there, the Not Bland Show, and give him a sub. He talks NFL, drag racing, wrestling, and beyond. A diverse platform on the Not Bland Show. He says here, well, folks outside of the U.S. are better fans. Look at WWE and AEW shows. Look at soccer and NFL outside the USA. Yeah, I would agree. You see fandom is like rabid in other areas. Like soccer fans, they might be, too rabid. Like, man, they take soccer very seriously in other parts of the world. Like refs die. Like, wow, that might be too serious. But I agree with you. You look at the NFL, you look at the fan bases in the United States of America. I think we could pick up the fandom. We could be a bit more in tune and serious. And again, maybe not complain as much. I think that would just be huge, that people just wouldn't complain so much. Like it's pretty good right now. It's not bad at all. I think drag racing is doing exceptionally well overall. And I think when you consider where we're at in the modern day with so many options for entertainment, it's doing good. It's doing good. Jacob says, yeah, I'm not big on roll racing, but they do have quarters still. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of it, but I do want to go and experience it. And that's something that fascinates me. People say, oh, I'm a racing fan. Oh, I'm a motorsports fan. And then you start to find out, oh, no, you're really just a NASCAR fan because you won't take the time to learn anything about IndyCar, F1, or drag racing. The whole debate of the NHRA and IndyCar and the squabble between them of the fastest motorsport. It's been fascinating to see that play out on social media. And in my mind, the ignorant people that have come out on all sides that say things such as, well, NHRA drag racing is not racing. That's just, I'm going to say it, that's stupid to say. Drag racing is racing. And also, I'm going to say this. There have been people who've said land speed racing is not racing. These are all different forms. You've got racing, side by side on a closed circuit or a street course. You've got drag racing, whether it's to a half mile, eighth mile, 10th mile, 330 feet, quarter mile, 1,000 feet, whatever it is. You've got land speed racing, again, different form, but all of these are racing. The fact is, if you're going to say that land speed racing is not racing, yet you use the word racing to describe what is not racing, it then must be racing, right? You've got to dive into the lexicon and use something that people would be completely unfamiliar with to describe that form of racing that in your mind is not racing, when in fact it really is racing. And yeah, I see in the comment section, and I agree with Jacob, that when you talk about the fastest motorsport, I don't think that is the NHRA. The NHRA can claim to be the fastest accelerating motorsport in the world, but when you look at the fastest motorsport, I think you've got to give that crown to either land speed racing or, yes, air racing. It is phenomenal what they're able to do. And yes, Reno has gone by the wayside, but air racing still happens now at Roswell, New Mexico. And you never know, they might be racing UFOs occasionally. But it just fascinates me how people will say, oh, that's not racing, and that's not racing, and that's not racing. And it's all racing. It may be different forms, but it's all racing. Look, sidecar racing. It's strange, but I love it. Have you ever heard of that sidecar? Have you ever seen sidecar racing motocross? Nuts. It's still racing, okay? Raymond, nothing wrong with NASCAR, but some people get bored with left turns. Yeah, hey, you do not have to like it, but I am going to respect what happens over there. And I do like NASCAR, and I enjoy IndyCar. And I grew up on NASCAR and drag racing, and enjoy IndyCar, enjoy F1, and certainly don't get to see it as much as I used to, but love V8 supercars. The car scene down in Australia may even be stronger in some regards than what it is here in the United States of America. But there is great racing across the board. And I hope, to bring this all back to drag racing, you've got the squabble between IndyCar drivers and the NHRA world. And, you know, Bob Tasca says what he says about Fox and IndyCar. And then you've got the IndyCar driver on his podcast. That fails me right now. Was that Rossi? Alexander Rossi? I can't remember. Jacob, help me out. I know you know. Get me right here. But anyway, he says, man, what a clown. And he makes the statement that Tasca says what he does, and then his next qualifying pass, he only goes like 209 miles per hour when it, well, wasn't a qualifying pass. I'm going to say this. If you are going to call someone a clown, get the nomenclature and terminology right. Because if you don't have that right, you just kind of clown yourself. Okay. Nonetheless, smoking the tires, driving and wheeling it by Bob Tasca, not even a full pull in 209 miles per hour. Yeah. I hope out of all of this that we have crossovers, that we have some NHRA drivers step into an open wheel car. And oh, by the way, there are some NHRA drivers that I think could translate very easily to an Indy car. I'm not saying they would go out and win a race, no, but I think they would have a hang of it, namely Austin Prock. He is an open wheel champion there at Lucas Oil, Indianapolis Raceway Park, the Oval. And I would love to see some of those IndyCar drivers give it a shot. Look, if we can, by Alex Laughlin and Scott Palmer, safely, well, maybe not as safe, but nonetheless, if we can stuff Travis Pastrana in a top fuel car and let him send it for 2 laps, I think we can put in an IndyCar driver in a top fuel or a funny car and let them experience it. With all that being said, you do have Rossi on camera being a Napa driver at least one time. I think he still may be. Again, I don't get to watch IndyCar as much as I'd want to. When you're traveling the country and you're covering motorsports and you're working in motorsports, one of the things as a motorsports fan you lose out on is watching other motorsports. It's part of the gig. But he, as a Napa driver, connected with Jon Capps, a Napa driver, they do promo pieces together, and you can find him on camera. Hey, what would you think about hopping into this funny car? And he's like, no. Like scared to death of doing it. So you've got video evidence of this guy saying he'd be like scared to death to do it and calling someone a clown and yet getting the terminology wrong. No, not a good way to host. The second individual on the podcast, I'd like his take far better. But nonetheless, as the NHRA has been saying, speed never lies. They can certainly claim to be the fastest accelerating sport. And I'm going to be one that, look, I am going to take the side of let's just respect all racing. and the challenges that it presents. I don't think any NHRA funny car driver, I don't think any IndyCar driver is hopping on a Ducati at the Isle of Man TT and surviving it, much less doing it at speed and competitively. Let's just take the time to respect one another and the disciplines involved. We've seen it so many times that someone goes from open wheel to NASCAR and it doesn't translate well, or NASCAR to open wheel and it doesn't translate well, so on and so on. So let's just respect all forms of racing and what it takes to do it. Raymond says, and don't forget about the dirt drags, the hill climbers, the monster trucks, and whatever you can put a badass V8 motor in. I'm going to watch it. Hey, man, I agree. You bring up hill climb racing. Like, for people who are like, oh, well, you're not competing against someone directly. Hey, you are still competing against somebody. It's that marker of how quick and did I make it up the hill. And, dirt drags. I have been able to go to one dirt/sand drag event, filmed it, put it on camera. It's there on the Monday Morning Racer YouTube channel. What a phenomenal experience. They're not racing to a quarter mile. They're not racing to the 8th mile. They're not racing to this long distance, but the acceleration, the rooster tails, and the sights and sounds and smells. It is some cool drag racing. We say dirt drags. It's still drag racing. I mean, remember, I think of somewhere like Shadyside Dragway, where the Southeast Gassers Association will be going for their second race of the year, the first weekend of April. That track at one time went the other way, and it was dirt. And it wasn't considered at the time dirt drags. It was just drag racing because everybody wasn't racing on asphalt tracks and concrete tracks. So, again, let's just take the time to respect all forms of motorsports. I think that is a good place to be. And realize that you can respect something and you might not enjoy it. Someone may look at sidecar racing and just go, what in the world is this? But that doesn't mean it's not racing. Well, we got in the green room someone that is a winner in racing, who has got a lot of racing in and done a lot of driving beyond racing as well. We'll talk with him about that. Jon Capps is in the green room. We'll take a break and bring him on, and we'll talk about this win at the March meet in Nitro Funny Car. Nitro Funny Car coverage on the Monday Morning Racer platform is brought to you by McKinney Corp. McKinney and Murph and everybody there, well, thank you. They keep me employed, and they allow me to do many of these things out in the world of motorsports. So if it's from tanks to a complete roller chassis of your top fuel dragster or Nitro Funny Car and even beyond, they've got a Southeast Gassers project in the shop right now. McKinney Corp can certainly get the job done and craft the solution that you need. And it even goes beyond the world of motorsports into the industrial sector. McKinney Corp, where technology makes them different. They can get the job done for you. This word from McKinney Corp. Then Jon Capps live here on Between the Slicks.
McKinney Motorsports is your #1 source for all your chassis needs. McKinney Motorsports is the leading chassis parts supplier and fabricator in nitro drag racing. From custom tanks and fittings, full chassis builds, body mounts, steering components, fasteners, tabs, clamps, composite parts, and much more. Our household name in the racing world guarantees added performance on the track. Join our list of proven winners that spans over 50 years of racing experience.
All right, it's still me. John is walking down the hallway. We're going to let him get settled and then bring him right on. He's transferring rooms. It's always interesting when you're doing live shows and someone does like the walk of transfer and you're like, oh, well, got to wait, and they're finding another room. And it's quite voyeuristic when you're watching along. It's interesting to see it in the green room, and I'm describing it to you now. And, interestingly enough, we've got John on before Ron has ever been on this show. So Jon Capps beats his brother to Between the Slicks. right here today. And he is finding himself a spot. He's given us some time today. Looking forward to chatting with Jon, and we'll bring him on. Jon, how's it going?
I'm doing good, thanks. Thanks for having me on.
Man, thank you. Appreciate it. Congratulations to you and the team once again on the win. And let's start here. Give us the rundown. You are no stranger to racing, and a lot of people watching this show, they're going to be familiar with you. You've been in some big show rides, and I've seen you out at the Funny Car Chaos Classic there in Texas and beyond. But give us the background. Like you even mentioned in your winter interview that Bakersfield, you've had some success there before. So what all have you done in racing?
Well, growing up around racing is kind of, been all over the place. And I went in the military. I got out of the military and started driving, working on Top Fuel cars as a crew guy. And after that, started racing USAC midgets, sprint cars, stuff like that. And my first actual USAC win was in Bakersfield in Oildale at the track that actually just closed recently, unfortunately. And also driving for Rick Jackson in an alcohol funny car, one in Bakersfield as well. It's funny how Westerfield used to drive for Rick Jackson as well. Unfortunately, Rick has passed. So it was kind of neat to have the final round be Westerfield myself. And I kind of talked to him about it a little bit afterwards. And so it was kind of neat and special to have that between two drivers.
Absolutely, man. And, for the day job, I understand that, it's driving, and you've been a part of some interesting productions that, you have held the wheel, and I haven't done it yet, but I'm sure you've got one of those, IMBD things, and
IMDb,
we'll look you up.
Yeah. So I guess my day job, my office would be, I do stunt driving for commercials, movies, TV shows. And so that's kind of why I'm actually here. This is the arena where the Golden Knights practice. And so it's kind of here site surveying on some stuff. So it worked out perfectly. So I do consulting for car companies, ride and drives. We train automotive dealerships. We train all kinds of stuff. I've been a part of putting together several teen driving safety programs. So yeah, I guess my office is a seat in the steering wheel.
Man, that's very cool. I know some of your work I've been able to see. Ford versus Ferrari. I understand you were in it. That was a great movie. Thoroughly enjoyed it. What about Rush? Were you in Rush? That's another one I really enjoy.
No, I've been part of pretty much just about every performance vehicle movie, in the last 20-something years. Was not part of Rush. So I did Ford versus Ferrari. I did the Michael Mann directed Ferrari, Gran Turismo. Those are recent ones. Got my start, actually, my first one was in Sylvester Stallone movie called Driven. A lot of people have seen that, and they're still mad at me for being a part of that. But, we're picking up quarters and with the right rear tire and that kind of fun stuff. That was an interesting movie. Also did Talladega Nights, which, truly a performance racing movie. So.
Yes, it is. It is. You didn't get hurt by the imaginary fire, did you? No.
I went around in my underwear quite a bit.
Right. Well,
Maybe.
Jon, you mentioned, and I think it was the interview going into second round or semifinals that this weekend or this past weekend, March Meet weekend, was a job interview. So how did this ride with Matthews Racing, Cecil Matthews, how did it open up, and what was the conversation of you getting to the March Meet to even compete in 2025?
Yeah, so it was really kind of strange. I was actually back in Indianapolis at my brother's race team's Christmas party. And so we were sitting there and having dinner, and I got a message that somebody told me that the seat at Cecil's car was going to be opening up. And I'd spoke with him, very seldom, like just a couple times at the track, nothing really in depth. And gave him a call that night and said, hey, I'm not sure if you've already got somebody, but I'd like to throw my name in the hat for that if it's possible. And he called me back the next morning and said, yeah, why don't we start with Bakersfield and we'll see where we go from that. And we talked on the phone a few times and talked about, what our goals were, what he likes to see, what he doesn't like to see. And I just told him, look, I learn everywhere I go, and I don't have any bad habits, I don't think. I try and, adapt to – I've driven so many different cars. I have to try and adapt to, the crew chief style, what the crew chief wants, what the owner wants. And I try and do the best I can for them, and try and keep, like a lot of football teams, we compete for the name on the front, not the one on the back, right?
When stepping into this ride, with all the experience that you've got, unique experience, honestly, I think, your experience list, you compare it to so many other drivers, they might be, a straight track funny car, straight track top fuel, or straight track whatever. You've got this, type of experience track. From the day job, do you bring anything with you that makes sense and translates to a funny car, or is it just completely not in the same ballpark?
No, I think it has to be the same. It has to be the same ballpark because, cars are cars, physics are physics. And I learn a lot from my road racing friends, my circle track friends. But at the same point in time, I kind of impart a lot of what we do in a funny car. Driving a funny car is a lot like driving a sprint car or a midget. I mean, you're sitting right on top of the rear end, the engine's in front of you, the weight is kind of all over the place. I've learned a lot from my road racing friends on doing data, right? We don't have data that kind of equates to what they do, but we do have quite a bit of data on these things. And so I'm able to take a look at, what the computer says after the run, and I try not to, I give the crew chief, when I get back from the far end, I tell him what I felt. I may be wrong, but I think I felt this, and this. It did this, and this. And then, go take a look at the computer and find out if I actually was feeling that or if it was something else. And so, there's times where a driver can get himself in trouble and say, it did this, and this, because as soon as it did this, I did that. And you come back and you look at the computer and go, well, yeah, that's not really what happened. So what happened? Or do you really know what's going on? And so that's a big part of being able to tell the crew chief, the what's missing in the computer. There's certain things that will never show up. I've had cars that would try and feel like it was shaking the tire at the top of low gear, and it was basically was falling off the tire. So, it's a matter of being able to look at the data we have. And so, yeah, I think what I have in my background is a big help for me to walk into a crew. This weekend, I'm coming up this way, not that way. Coming up this weekend, I'm driving a big show car for the Winefsky family at the NHRA event in Phoenix. Never been in this car. It's a new car for these guys. Trying to get Dylan his license on Monday morning afterwards so they can compete in the NHRA. So I've done this several times with different teams, and it's really kind of interesting where you jump into a crew. And again, like the Cecil Matthews program, where I jump in, it's my first time with a car, first time with a crew, and I want to make sure that I just don't lose a run. If we lose a run, I want to make sure it's not because of something I did or didn't do. So it's stressful, everything happens in such a compressed time that you really don't have time to double think about things. So you have to make sure that your thought process is correct. So I think my background helps.
It's certainly something in the racing world overall that I think it's really overlooked. I mean, we tend to, place in high regard those that are making Hall of Fames and they've won championships and tons of races. But, like what you're doing and others have done it, it's critical for people to even ever get to that point. You're shaking things down. You're that ringer. You're that shoe that can come in and in a multifaceted different type of situation, get the job done. I don't think that skill is really held enough in high regard.
Thank you very much. And I don't know that I would say it'd be that good of a description like you called, but I do appreciate that. And it's really hard when you think about it. Some of the cars that go out there, like my brother's car, they're just badass and they're going to run, they're going to go for number one qualifier at a given moment, right? It's kind of hard when you compare driving one of those versus a car that's a little bit marginal that you're barely kind of trying to qualify. And so when, things kind of go weird and you're in the seat and you think, okay, well, is that bad enough to get out of the throttle, or is that good enough to make the show, right? We're trying to make the show in some of these cars. And so the thought process is really kind of difficult to go through in a hurry to decide if it's time to get out of the throttle, trying to stay with it. Is it going to increase your run from the run before, or if it's time to get out? If the car's going to haul ass and you go number one qualifier, if it bobbles, you're not going to make up that time, so you get out of the throttle. So it's kind of sometimes harder to drive these cars that are on, the lower end of the ladder. Which makes it, even more stressful for me.
Speaking of making the show, we're going to take a look at qualifying for you there at the March meeting. Get your thoughts on it.
Right center. Moving miles an hour. Holy cow, Ron. 969 with 330 up to that number 2 spot.
And to do as well as we did, it's a hat off to Cecil and Dan and everybody and Pat on the crew that really does a good job and make sure that this thing was ready to go hurt some feelings on Sunday.
Absolutely was. Now, I hate to break it to you, but we could not hear you during the video. But you start out, hey, 70, good number. Then it goes nowhere. And then y'all absolutely are like, hey, we're here, and rocket to number 2. What a great lap that, the team put out.
So the 70, that was out of the box. That was me lifting just about 1,000 foot. We kind of put a program together and a process that we were going to not go to the finish line. For Cecil wanted me to get me comfortable in the car, and I told him that won't be a problem. He said, all right, well, just play by ear. And for me, I didn't want to hurt any parts that early in qualifying and not be able to make eliminations. So I said, okay, I'm going to lift 1,000 foot. Went out there and lifted about 1,000 foot. Second run, the temperature dropped a lot and it got really cold. And there's no way we're going to go anywhere with that cold track. So we lost that run. The next run, actually, when Westerfield red lighted against me, I went down the other end. I go, dude, what are you doing? You scared me. That was my first time I was going to work on my reaction times. And he red lighted. It kind of threw me off a little bit. And I went down. I go, dude, what are you doing? He said, man, I knew that I got to work on my tree against you. So I took a shot trying to red light, and he did. So he didn't know if he could red light in that car. So that was kind of funny to hear and go through. But and then we went down there the last qualifying run, and I ran it to about 1,200. I didn't run to the finish line. I lifted a little bit short just to try and make sure, again, that you're close enough to want to gain that time, but we didn't want to hurt any parts. So and first round eliminations, we took it from there. Once we knew that the car was safe and we could go to the finish line without blowing parts up, that's kind of what I did.
And we'll roll right into round 1. Take a look at that. And it was spectacular for sure for yourself and the team in round 1.
Holy cow! 554.4, 260 miles an hour. That is top 5 all time. 554.4. You should.
Love it, Mike English. Holy cow! And you say low ET of the meet. That's pretty strong, man.
I don't think I was low ET of the meet. Oh, for the meet, yes, yeah. That was crazy. I mean, I got out of the car, and a lot of drivers will tell you that when things are right, when everything's just working correctly, you really don't have to do much in these things, right? I got out of the car. I'm like, well, I saw him red light, obviously. And tell you what, hang on. Those guys are a great crew over there, and he's getting used to the car, and he's kind of new to everything. He apologized to me for screwing me up, and he's a great guy. He's going to do well. Car went out there, and I saw him red light, and again, trying to be smart about things and trying to save things. I knew it was a decent run, but it didn't really feel that good. So I got out of the throttle a little bit early as well. So could have been a little better, maybe a low 53, maybe. But I was trying to save parts, right? Trying to be smart about everything, not trying to have an ego and try and run out the back door and get big numbers. I'd rather get the trophy than try and do something like that. So I lifted a little bit early, and it didn't feel like that fast of a run inside the car. It was just so smooth, right? And so I got at the other end, I got out, and I went down there, and there's nobody down there, unfortunately. I'm sitting there waiting. I'm rolling my parachutes up, and my crew guys, they come down and get me, and the truck's coming down there. And sometimes, because we have no idea, we didn't have radios in the helmet in the car. So I'm waiting for everything, and they're coming down. I can see them, and they're getting closer, and no horns, no excitement, nothing. And then they finally get probably 15 feet away from me, the horns, and they start yelling. I'm like, guys, you're killing me here. I had no idea. I thought we'd just, crap the bed or something, did something really bad. But they started honking and everything and told me what we ran. And man, it could have been better, but I was really happy about that.
Well, you all certainly put everyone else on notice that the Cecil Matthews gang was there to win with Jon Capps driving. I know I interviewed Shane Westerfield over the weekend several times. The big bad green car, they're always strong. They're always, when you get on camera, they're always there near the front. And each and every time, it was a situation where Shane's like, yeah, but Jon over there. Yeah, but Jon over there. So, everybody was put on notice. Did it feel like that? Did it feel like some heads had turned and like, oh, wow, we got to watch out for Jon Capps and crew for the rest of the weekend?
You know what? I try and just stay in my pit area, stay in my lane, and not worry about what everybody else is talking about. I can't control what they're going to do. I can control what I do. And so I just try and focus on what I'm doing and try and work with the team and try and get everything together. Second round, I said, hey, because we had been in the left lane the whole time. We really didn't go down the right lane, I don't believe. So I was like, hey, do we really want to go for lane choice, or do we want to make sure we can get down the right lane if we don't have lane choice, which we ended up not having lane choice the next run in the semifinals against Moniz. So I was like, man, what do we want to do, guys? We want to try and run down the right lane to make sure we can get down the lane, or do we want to try and go for lane choice? And as it turned out, we tossed a coin and we stayed in the left lane. But yeah, it's kind of, I had a sensation because I could talk to a couple of drivers when they're coming back that we were kind of making some people look at us a little bit. And there's nothing better than knowing that you've got people nervous and they're thinking about you and they rattle them a little bit. But I just try and stay in my lane and do what I do, and can't affect them, so why worry about it?
This is Motorsports Park 3. They're set. Wow. 257 miles an hour, and I'm telling you, they qualified that car. That will be 11th all-time quickest run there.
And now living in the 50s and living good. Took out Corey Lee. I mean, the old wily veteran. That's someone that you certainly cannot take lightly in any situation, no matter the car.
No, Gary Turner's always got great drivers in his car. Corey's no exception. Corey's been around a long time. He does a good job. He went in and we both staged second light, and he dropped the top light out on me, and it got me a little bit. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. It didn't rattle me. I laughed as soon as he dropped the top light. I physically giggled, and I think that kind of threw myself off, and my reaction time shouldn't have been that bad. But yeah, I mean, he did what he had to do, right? I mean, they've been running good, but I think we had a little bit on him, and as you saw, I mean, the bracket car, I think, was right in the 50s. Slowed down a little bit in the final race. Not sure why, but a win's a win.
Well, let's take the time. We'll look at the semifinal matchup and roll right into the final.
Go to the final, brings on Shane Westerfield. 57, takes out a 5:59. Jon Capps goes 5:57.0, 2:58. Jon Capps was .061 off that starting line. .562.7, 254 miles an hour. Shane Westerfield, red light.
Hey, left lane, right lane, red light, wind light, you got it all to win the March meet. That was a tough matchup against Jeff Moniz. They finally found that combination they had been looking for all weekend, and they started riding in the 50s.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about, me getting people's heads. He's gotten a lot of people's heads. I mean, they're doing a great job. He built a beautiful car. Really nice guy, good family, just really cool people over there. It's really good to see them run that well. That could have been a final round at any race, right? They did a great job. I did, I stepped up my game a little bit. Luckily, I wasn't too deep in staging, but I just kind of tried to step on my reaction times and work on those, trying to let the team down. Talk about letting the team down in the final round. I didn't see that he red lighted. So, about 200 feet out there, I'm like, man, I was sleeping in the tree. I have to go back and explain to these guys why we lost the race, and things been a hot rod all weekend. So I go down about half track and I put it in high gear, and I'm like, man, I'm just going to lift. We've lost because these guys aren't going to blow up or anything. And so now I'm mad. Now I'm going to run it out the back door. So I went out there and ran it. I didn't see, because I was in my head thinking about what's going on, I didn't see the wind light already on. So I lift, parachutes out, and I take it down to the far turnout road just because I really didn't feel like talking to anybody. I didn't want to talk with Shane. I didn't want to whatever, because I knew we just lost in my head. And get out of the car, and I'm rolling my chutes up. I take it back. I get down there, and a guy came up on the quad and said, hey, I'll push you up. I'm like, all right, no hurry. And he starts telling me, hey, your brother couldn't be here to win, so I guess you had to. I'm like, it's kind of a weird, odd thing to say to somebody who just lost. I had no idea, right? We're pushing up, and all the guys stand there with trophies, and I go, they're like, over here. I'm like, no, that's for him. Well, I started turning. I go, no, over here. You don't want the trophy? I'm like, I said bad words. I didn't know, man. And so when they told me you won, the trophy's for you, you could have blown me over with a feather. And it was really cool. It was a great experience.
It was cool to see that. You had no clue. You almost seemed like you were frustrated. Like, why are y'all putting me through this? I just lost this thing.
No idea.
Yeah, and then you're like, oh. And what a interesting raw reaction that you had to winning. And I know we had to edit it, but like being there in the moment, like I loved it. I mean, I wouldn't chose those words, but nonetheless, like your reaction was raw. It was truthful. It was in the moment. It was a beautiful thing.
Thank you. It was that. I mean, again, I've been coming to that race since I was a little kid, playing under the grandstands. When my dad ran his Fiat Topolino car, my brother and I would get on motorcycles and go across the other side and go try and climb the orange peels, or the rotting oranges over there. We never figured out how we could get caught until we realized that the rotting carcasses of oranges were hanging off the motorcycles, and we smelled like decomposing oranges. But as a kid, I spent my whole weekends there, right? And so to win there, in my Alcohol Funny car ride, in this one now, is it's really cool. And to hear my brother's voice, I called him when we were down there, and he's like, what do you mean, you won? Like, it was crazy. He was going crazy in the background on the phone over there. And so it was really cool to see somebody that really understands how much work these guys put into it and how hard it is to get something like this together, to win a race like this. It doesn't pay $1 million, but you know what? It's probably one of the memories I'll have the rest of my life. That's probably right up there with the coolest things I've done in my life.
Absolutely. You've got one of the biggest wins you can have in drag racing, one of the coolest trophies. That's the most oddest shape, but it certainly looks good on any mantle or any trophy case you put it on. And well, we got to ask this though. How'd you do in your job interview? Like, you going to be racing that thing anymore this year? I mean, what's the verdict?
I asked Cecil that. We're in the winner's circle taking pictures, and I turned and I go, hey, Cecil, did I get the job? And he just kind of blushed and kind of, yeah, I think so. So I think we're going to do some races. We're going to try and run the Legends Nitro Series, some heritage races. We'll go to Boise, both Boise's. Hopefully, if we can get our points correct, we'll go to Indianapolis and run back there with Legends Nitro. They're going to do the program back there. And we'll see what else comes of that. I mean, these guys are from Northern California, so it's kind of a trek to get anywhere. So we need to make sure that we can get some sponsor money lined up to pay for the travel, pay for the cars, for the parts, and see if we can go play with the Green Boys.
I'm going to ask this question of Blake in the comments section. We know that you're going to be there for the Arizona Nationals with the Wineskis and their hot rod, but Blake has this nuance to his question. Would you like to drive the Big Show Nitro Funny Car full time in the NHRA? Posing that question to you, I think would be interesting. I think if I asked almost anyone else, they'd be like, yes, but I almost wonder. Answer that. I want to get your answer. I think it might be different.
I've never had a chance to run the full season. I've ran, a handful of races, 5 to 7 races. I think I ran 1 year. I ran, I think 5, 6 races in NHRA and another 5 or so in the IHRA at the same time. That was kind of a busy season. I was not that busy in the stunt work side of things. I tell you what, I love doing stunt work because it's hanging out with your buddies. That some of the guys I used to race with when I was a little kid racing go-karts. And back then, you're competing against them. You're fine. Thank you very much, though. You're competing against them, so you're like their mortal enemies, right? And now they're my best friends, and that part of things I really enjoy. I enjoy the money. I'm not gonna lie to you. But would I do it? Of course, I would do it. I would take a full-time ride if somebody was going to put me in a position to do it. I think I'd like to do it at least to get a full season in and see, how good I can do. I think I have the ability to do well. I think. With a proper team, I think I can do really well, but there's a lot of money involved and I enjoy the titles or the hunting for sponsors. I enjoy that side of things, but it's tough right now. I mean, it's so tough, but the answer is yes, I would.
Spectacular, man. John, look, thank you for your time today. Enjoyed the conversation. What a great win. I have told Kyle, I've told Pete, having Pete earlier and yesterday, Kyle, everybody who won, I'm not necessarily saying they're all underdogs, but I don't think anyone that won was the one that people had marked, oh, they're probably going to win the March meet. With Tyler Hilton, the way he was performing, and Kyle in the wall and then to a win, and then you jumping in the ride, for the first weekend ever. Wow, what a testament to the Matthews Racing team to give you that hot rod and to give you the ability to showcase your abilities and go win the March meet.
Yeah, you know what? A couple things. Kyle winning was really cool. I drove for his family 1 or 2 races, I believe. I drove the KLOS Super Shops altered in Bakersfield, actually, and to see his family win. His grandfather passed away roughly a year ago to the day, I think, the same weekend of the race, and to see those guys win was really, really cool. And as far as being an underdog, man, I will take an underdog any day of the week. You have nothing to give up, right? You have nowhere to go but up if somebody says you're an underdog, and I would take the underdog tag any day of the week.
Well, you're going to have that tag in Phoenix. Hope to see you all qualified in that field and competing in round 1. Man, thank you for the time once again. Congratulations, and whatever the next endeavors are, have fun.
Thanks again, man. I appreciate you taking the time to let me on the show, and we'll see you guys soon.
All right, awesome. Jon Capps, the winner there in Nitro Funny Car at the March meet. Get done. What an impressive win by all of these. Thank you, John, for the time. Thank you, Pete, for the time yesterday. Thank you for the time, Kyle Huff. And tomorrow, yes, we're going to continue March meet coverage. We're going to have Blake Bowser on, now promoter of the March meet and the California Hot Rod Reunion. We're going to get his take on the event. I can tell you it's a good take because it was a spectacular March meet, but I hope we can dive into some numbers in particular on this, the 67th Good Vibrations Motorsports March meet at Famoso Drag Strip. To each and every one of you, thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Hit the like button, hit the share button, subscribe to Monday Morning Racer. Hey, that Not Bland Show guy, click on that comment and dive into the Facebook page for the Not Bland Show or the YouTube channel for the Not Bland Show. He'll be live, I believe, later on tonight around 7 Eastern time, and then 9 p.m. Eastern time, the Power Hour on Competition Plus. Come and join us, Mr. Dujanay Bland, and yours truly, a.k.a. the Monday Morning Racer, Lee Craft, as we continue to talk drag racing. This has been more coverage on the March meet, which has been brought to you by In particular, Top Fuel coverage, Ross Racing Engines and Hilton Hot Rods, and the Nitro Funny Car coverage brought to you by McKinney Corp. The Fuel Altered coverage was brought to you by Fuel Altered Chaos. We'll end with a word from them and that big race coming up. To each and every one of you, God bless. Keep the pedal to the metal.